This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside Royden Ogletree from 5 years ago.
Hey!
He somehow managed to go back in time. Garrett, did you think Royden looked like 7 years younger when he walked in the room today?
He definitely looked like a second grader going for a pitcher, like a school pitcher vibe.
Yeah.
Definitely
got my haircut and I got on my school clothes. I'm ready to go take pictures.
There you go.
Yeah, just
What's
make
the John Mulaney bit is like, I don't look older, I just look worse.
Yeah. No, you honestly, we digitally de-aged him today, which is sad because he's not even 30 yet.
Right.
So, but we did.
Quickly approaching.
We haven't digitally de-aged me, which I think is bullcrap, but
It's a work in progress.
I mean, we start out with somebody who's here a week. That way we can work out the kinks.
I knew you pre-beard.
Yeah,
now
you did.
if you went away from it, I think I'd be a little shocked. Me, it's like I change it every week, so it doesn't really matter.
I am not allowed.
Not allowed?
I'm not allowed to shave the beard.
When did that come into play?
When I got engaged. Or before I got engaged, when I started dating Amanda. And then when I got engaged and married. Because there was a time, I want to say about 10 months ago, she didn't want me to shave it before the wedding. So it was well before maybe even like a year and a half ago, where I was like, look, before the wedding, can I just shave this completely off? Like, go get a nice, clean, straight razor shave, which is something I love. It's a great feeling.
I've never had one. Actually.
Oh, my gosh. Other than the aftershave, which you have to tell them, like, listen, I can't do that. You got to give me something with alcohol. Because for me personally, it ruins the whole experience.
Right.
But I learned that after the first one. After the first one, I was like, yeah.
Kevin from Home Alone, they Home Alone you?
Yeah, and I didn't scream, but I'm driving back in the car, I'm like, damn it. Oof. Go home and moisturize my face.
Yeah.
Looked like Marlon Brando on the Isle of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah.
But no, I wanted to, and I was like, look, it's going to grow back. It'll grow back better and nicer and whatever, but I just feel like, these hair need to go. These need to go. I was like, I got to mow the lawn and then start over and fertilize.
We got a good base layer. We need to get a good base layer going.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I wanted to do, and it was unequivocally told to me no.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, well, all right. And then then I had the moment where this is the end of my free will.
Right.
This is it. That was
of the end.
where it hit me where I don't even.
You got to consciously acknowledge that. That's interesting. A lot of people don't.
No, I was just like, well, I mean, here's the thing. Usually it happens much later into a marriage. Because you think I know the guy's I do what I want. And no, you don't, dude. You're lying. Because the last time I called you to get a beer, it took 4 days for that to happen. And all I wanted was a beer tonight.
Right.
2 beers tonight, home by 9:15. That's all I asked for. And you couldn't make it until 4 days later. So, and you only made it 4 days later because, the wife and the kids are at a birthday party another 30 minutes away. Yeah. So I had to do a thing. I had to wait for the guy to come to the house to replace the lights. So I'm here now. So
usually you wake up at a farmer's market on a Saturday and oh no. What happened?
Yeah. So that's what I knew. It was well, no, you're not no, it's not going to happen. I'm well, what if I took it down and then immediately I'm going to start growing it again. I just wanted new hair.
Yeah.
Right. That's all I wanted was new hair on my face. And she's like, no, I don't like the way you look without it. Okay. So
it was done.
There were, and to not get, there were grander consequences involved. So I was like, all right, well, that's it. But I did acknowledge, that's it for me, doing things. And then, I learned it again where she had gotten mad at me because if you called me up, back in the day, if you called me up, hey, can you do stand-up in this city 4 days from now? And I'd be like, yep, sure can.
Absolutely.
I'll be there. And I did that a couple times. And she's like, hey, you got to ask me these things. I'm not going to say no to you getting paid, but you can't just
say I'm going.
Say I'm going. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Well, I guess
there's a whole other spectrum of responsibility.
That would be a whole other thing. So anyway, but But Royden has turned back the clock. And you look like you did when I first met you.
Well, that's good to know because I'm about like 25 pounds heavier and way more tired.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's true. Like, I met you when you were a 20-year-old college student.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I like you do. You look spry.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. My bones ache.
All right, so today we're going to talk about a post-spring top 25. Our friend, and I'll call him our friend, he's been on the show several times, Ari Wasserman. And he and I'll tell you, I don't see eye to eye with Ari on a lot of the way he assesses things.
Yeah, y'all got into it on Twitter.
We did. We got into it on Twitter. Well, I say got into it. We had it like
It was a little back and forth.
Yeah, we weren't
if you
Kendrick and Drake or anything like that.
Ooh, topical.
I wasn't dropping Ari diss tracks or anything like that. Which I don't even know. Like, I wouldn't even know how that would work in the sports media world, where it would be like, I know, like
you have to. It'd be you publish a scathing article about that will get dozens of clicks about how this guy doesn't write well. Then at the very end, we'd just be like, and you dress weird too.
But he did a post-spring top 25. And let's just go through right now his top 5 to start out. Garrett, feel free to hop in on this as well as the disembodied voice today. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Georgia. Number 3, Oregon. Number 4, Texas. And number 5, Notre Dame. First of all, I'll tell you, I have no problem with his number 1. I think that given the way that they have retained from last year and added in the portal, when you talk about, like, I'm not even talking about Will Howard, who may not even wind up being the starter, but which would, I think, may be bad news for them if that happens. But Will Howard, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Downs, and others, like, they have made their team so deep and so good, and they got the best player in the country in Jeremiah Smith, a wide receiver out of Miami, who went to wide receiver U to play for Brian Hartline, he's already.
That's just where you go now if you're a top receiver.
Yeah.
I was looking back at, like, they had the NFL put out a graphic or Bleacher Report or something of, like, C.J. Stroud they superimposed, it was an actual picture of him talking to Jackson Smith and Jigba, Marvin Harrison Jr., Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
All on the bench at the same time. And they superimposed their NFL uniforms over them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, wait, they did all play. They were all on the field at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, so it's where you go right now. Yeah. Like, when Ohio State loses Brian Hartline, which they may never – he might be, like, the coach who's there forever. Yeah. Although because they can keep on paying him, but he's the reason they're getting those guys right now. I mean, he is absolutely and not to knock Ryan Day, we do that enough with other things, but yeah, I mean and Ryan Day knows this. Like, he knows that, like, yeah, that's why when other schools come after Brian Hartline, he's like, give him a raise.
Yeah. Somehow magically
remind him where he went to school. He went right here.
His number goes up.
Yeah. Chip Kelly's going to love it. Chip Kelly's going to absolutely love it. Not having to run the thing and just calling plays and making big shots. So I think Ohio State at number 1 makes total sense. And I think the biggest thing was not like their retention on the defensive and offensive lines, Emeka Egbuka, Travion Henderson, and then adding who they've added, especially Caleb Downs to the back end of that secondary for Jim Knowles. That like Ohio State has no reason to lose to Michigan this year. I'm telling you right now, no reason to lose to Michigan.
If they lose to Michigan, Ryan Day, and this is the world we live in. Ryan Day may be fired, big F fired. He is like, they are so tired of that up there, and it's only happened 3 times in the last 20 years, all under Ryan Day's watch, mind you. But you will not find an Ohio State fan that does not bring that up.
Well, look, we're living in a world right now where it's very likely that there's a large segment of fans. Like, we're in a 12-team playoff world. I've said this a lot on the show, and I'm sorry to be repetitive, but it is going to happen, at least in the minority, and it will be a large minority because the 12-team playoff is going to make the rivalry games slightly less important.
Right.
Because if you're good enough and lose to the rival, if you win the conference or if that's one of your couple losses, it's not going to be that big of a deal.
To college football at large, to those fan bases,
exactly.
if Baylor loses to TCU, I'm going to put my hand through a wall.
Exactly. So in the grander picture, it doesn't really matter, but because look, you're a Texans fan, I'm a Cowboys fan, Garrett's a Washington fan.
Mm-hmm. Right. When
our teams lose to a division rival, it pisses me off, but unless it's the last game of the season to keep me out of the playoffs, I'm not upset. I'm just like, okay, well, there's like 12 more games. We'll get, the guys will get back on the horse.
Live to play next week.
Yeah, look, the rivals,
whoever.
I'm a Cowboys fan. The rivals don't disappoint me near as much as my own team does.
You can't hurt me as much as they've already hurt me.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles are better. Well, good for the Eagles. They're doing it right. I hate them. I hate their fans. They drive me insane. But at the end of the day, they've got better ownership and a general manager than the Cowboys do right now. So why am I mad at Jalen Hurts for being good? I'm not like it would bother me that they can't stop the tush push and no one can. But dear God, what do you do? So with Ohio, there's going to be Ohio State fans, and if he loses to Michigan for a fourth year in a row, essentially a graduating class of losers to Michigan,
put that on their degree.
They could lose to Michigan, get in the college football playoff, and just say they're not going to win the college football playoff because that's going to make it harder.
Yeah.
But if they lose to Michigan, get in the college football playoff, and say lose to Georgia, there'll be fans who be like, well, he can't do it. He just can't do it. He's the worst coach ever. He can't beat Michigan and the
other
SEC,
best team.
Yeah, and the other best team. And you're like, well, I mean, he literally laid waste to everybody else in the conference that he played.
I always go back to it's the Mark Richt effect.
Yes.
To me, it's Mark Richt 101 at Georgia because that dude was rattling off 10 wins.
Seasons,
dude,
yeah.
I mean, year after year. Ultimately could never get over the hump. If you got into the SEC championship, you were getting beat by Bama and Saban. But your consistency was there, and it just wasn't enough for that program's supposed to – the expectation.
Some around this program would call that the Art Briles effect.
You want to tell you about Mark Richt? Mark Richt went to Georgia and took 3 wins a year from FSU with him.
Oh, yeah.
He took those wins. He was good for 3 wins because they went through the Jeff Bowden era of offensive coordinating, which was not offensive but offensive. Offensive.
Capital
offensive. It would be like racism and hatred in his offense. Racism is way worse. But then it was his offense was just that bad.
Just above genocide.
Just below, that was disgusting. How can you treat another human being like that? Because the offense was that bad. It was bordering on.
Oh, my God.
No, but so.
How about we running on 3rd and 8?
But it's so weird that, so Bobby Bowden lost Mark Richt, right? And then Mark Richt goes and he's a 10-2 team every year. 10-2 team every year. Florida State becomes an 8-4, 6-6 a couple times, which was really distressing under Bowden, to where Jimbo Fisher eventually takes over. Honestly, because when Mark Richt left, the SEC was not really that big of a deal.
No, it was making the transition, but it's nowhere near what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like everybody else. Yeah. Just rotated through.
It was before Saban got to his height, to his
he wasn't even at Bama then.
When did Rick?
He was. I think
he was with the Dolphins.
He went to.
I thought Rick went all the way up to 2010.
Yeah, but he didn't leave to go to Georgia. He left to go to Georgia after the '99 national championship game. That's when he left, or maybe 2000. They went to the national championship game. He went off to Georgia. I think it was 2000 because he wasn't there for the Oklahoma game. The offense was really bad, or he was there, but he wasn't there the whole month because he was recruiting for Georgia. And I mean, not mad about that. That's just how it works. But yeah, so he left and went there, and so that was the beginning of the end for Bobby Bowden. And had they stayed together and done what they did with Jimbo and make him the coach in waiting, Bowden probably retires maybe 3 or 4 years earlier. And Richt is the head coach at Florida State and might have won a national title at FSU.
He probably would have.
I might have. It might have been a better fit. Look, Mark Richt was still a really good coach. He just could never get over the hump. And the other problem that Mark Richt had was right after he got to Georgia, Nick Saban got to LSU, and then the minute Nick Saban left, and then Urban Meyer got to Florida.
Right.
So, and then the minute that they both left, like, all right, I can breathe again. Nick Saban's in the NFL, and Urban Meyer's retired, or what? He's got cluster headaches or whatever the f. And then
he's just stressed out, man.
And then the minute that he left, like Nick Saban comes in and he's like, like back in the ring, like the WWE.
No,
like
it's the
Rock
Undertaker music. Oh, no.
I would say it's more like The Rock, where it's like, oh, we thought he was gone and doing movies and stuff like that. And all of a sudden it's like, can you smell what Nick Saban is cooking? It's like, crap. Here we go.
Everybody in the ring pauses.
Man, I was feeling this is my time.
I could taste the belt, man. I had it.
Exactly.
My problem with the top 5. I just think that Georgia is going to be eating the trash and reading the headlines all year. This is completely just in my head, in my head canon, what I think is going to happen. Nobody is better at making really good players feel like nobody believed in them more than that Georgia program.
Yeah.
Specifically Kirby Smart. And obviously he's running the show. But nobody is better at making 5-star recruits being like, nobody ever believed in you. You're trash. Now go out there and compete.
I think he pulled that. That was, to me, that was a one-shot deal. He had a one-shot deal with that because
I think he does it every day.
He might do it every day, but nobody thought that the highest paid coach with the biggest recruiting budget coming off of 2 national championships, nobody thought that we'd be good again. And you're like, no, people thought you might lose a game.
Look, they lost that one game to Alabama, and I guarantee you, even though Florida State was viciously undermanned, he went out there and they're saying you can't win. Yeah. They're saying you can't do it.
Yeah.
And by God, I don't think you can. Go out there and show me that you can. Yeah. And they obliterated those poor souls that were out there on that football field.
Quiet quitting's not a real thing. Yeah. Listen, Brock Glenn and Jordan Travis, same.
Yeah.
Same.
Absolutely.
He probably just cut Jordan Travis out of the old film and superimposed him over Brock Glenn. And look at these teams. They slowed him down. You can do it too.
They deep faked him.
Yeah, they deep faked him.
No, I just think that until proven otherwise, which I guess you could say last year was the proven otherwise, but Georgia, to me, kind of still deserved to be in the mix going forward, even after that game, that loss to Alabama. The fact that they kind of left them and Florida State out of the out of the conversation. I mean, who do you take out? Washington State, whoever.
Yeah.
But Georgia seems to me that if you would have put them in the playoff, they probably would have won.
Yeah.
And that's tough to say given how good Michigan was. I just think that with Kirby Smart and how much they've won, until proven otherwise, I think they have the leg up.
Especially
because I think that Kirby Smart is a much better coach than Ryan Day.
I firmly believe, and Jared Verse said this to, I think, a guy that was on the Rams. It was one of the things.
Yeah.
And Jared Verse said, look, I wish that Jordan had never, if you guys had not lost the game, you would have seen, how good that the team was.
Right.
Because, it was, everybody's bragging about 63-3. You didn't even play, all these guys that got drafted, none of them played in the game.
Yeah.
And so I firmly believe, and will till the day I die, that Georgia and Florida State in that playoff would have been better than what they had. If both those teams
Alabama
were in
and Michigan ended up being a good game at the very end.
Now look, I think if Georgia wins the game, it's Michigan, Washington, Georgia, and FSU. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a fantastic playoff. No offense to Texas. If you wanted to swap Texas out for another team that had to me, all Alabama winning should have done is put Texas in.
Exactly.
That's what should have happened. Alabama won, Texas should have been in. And I think at full strength, if Florida State's at full strength, that team was so damn good. And they had so many matchup problems that it wouldn't have mattered to play in Georgia, Michigan, or Washington. It would have been a good game. it would have been a really good game.
Speaking of Texas, I mean, Oregon's now in the Big Ten. They're number 3, like you mentioned.
I like Oregon going into this year. They're going to be super deep, but and Dan Lanning's probably about to take a jump.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he's probably about to, he's come up short. Mm-hmm. He came up short to Washington twice. I think he's about to, figure it out. And, one of the things he's going to figure out is the reason he lost to Washington the first time and even made it an issue the second time, but Washington controlled the whole game the second time around. But the first time around, he, took chances that he should have taken. He just didn't take them, he didn't approach it with a smart
He didn't take
plan.
them strategically?
Yeah, he would okay, we're going to go for it here at the end of the second quarter because, there's no time on the clock and we need it. If we have a touchdown here going into halftime, it's going to be way better than a field goal. And this is an offense that can just explode. We have to score touchdowns. So we need 6, not 3, 6, not 3. That's how you're going to beat Michael Penix and those wide receivers. And it was a great idea. The problem is that when you go out there, you have to have a play call that's going to be work more than one way. Both times they went for it on fourth down in those key situations. They called plays that could be blown up by 3 different things happening, as opposed to make the defense have to cover a lot of things, as opposed to we're going to try to sneak this one guy out. But if the thing is, when you do those, we're going to try to sneak this one guy out plays, you all it takes is one player to go oh, I get it. And I'll tell you, I know that from a high school game. Garrett, you remember when Robinson lost in the state title game?
Oh, yeah, to Liberty Islo, right?
To Liberty Islo. So Robinson High School here in Waco would have a state title. They had a player, the quarterback was Randy Kitchens. He was an unbelievable athlete. He was the second best athlete on the field that day. The other one was named LaMichael James.
Oh.
So just to throw out.
Casual.
Yeah. So, but they had him at the end of the game, and the coach knew that they had to go for 2 to win the game. And instead of lining up to go for 2, he tried to run a fake and took the ball out of Randy's hands.
Yeah.
And I watched it on film. I wasn't there, but I saw it on film. It was one of those play calls, and I know he'll probably still wakes up and thinks about it, where, again, 10 guys bought it. The one guy who didn't buy it was the one guy who was covering the guy who they're throwing the ball.
Yep.
So those are the things you can't do in those situations.
Does Gillen Gabriel raise your ceiling much more than Bo Nix? Running the ball, probably. I just think that Bo Nix was so good for that offense. It's the reason that he was drafted. It's see the ball, get the ball out. It was get the ball to the playmakers. Dylan Gabriel probably allows you to take more shots down the field than they did with Bo Nix, but does it raise your ceiling so much more?
I think you could make a case that it might be a step down, honestly, because for me, Dylan Gabriel he's struggled to stay healthy with his size.
Yeah.
He's going to have, to me, in my opinion, he's going to have the best talent at receiver that he's dealt with in his career when you get Evan Stewart going over there. But, man, his frame and the way they use him, I think I'm just nervous about him getting banged up because I think they're going to have to run the ball more with him. I don't think his arm consistency is on the level of Bo Nix, which means they're going to have to change how they do their offense, and I'm kind of concerned about his health long term. So I think it might be a step down, but it's not drastic in my opinion.
Yeah, he loves to throw those moon balls down the field. I mean, obviously that was part of the Bryles-esque offense at Oklahoma. But, we'll see if he can hit short intermediate screens or, get the wide ball out to the wide receivers quick enough. And, yeah, man, he's 5'11".
Yeah, I mean, we had him at the Big 12 media. He's tiny.
He's a little quarterback. My other thing here, and I just wanted to get your opinion on this as a FSU alum and fan, Miami, number 10 in these rankings.
I'll buy it right now. FSU's number 12. Notre Dame at number 5 I want to talk about, too, in a second. But FSU's number 12 because FSU has maybe a little less proven parts that they're replacing it with. DJ Uiagalelei, I think, will be fine in the offense, but they lost 5 chief offensive weapons. They lost Jordan Travis, and I think DJ Uiagalelei is a step below him, obviously, but not that, as far as running that offense.
He proved he could be a solid quarterback
he'll be fine.
last year. Yeah.
He'll be fine. He just probably won't be Jordan Travis good, which, I mean, there weren't that many people in the country that were Jordan Travis good last year, bottom line. So he probably won't be Jordan Travis good, but are they going to be Trey Benson, Jaheim Bell, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson good on those other skill positions? That I don't know. And are they going to be Braden Fisk, Jared Vershgood on the front end of that defense? Plus, they lost 2 really good corners in Jerry Jones and Renardo Green. So, like, they're going to have to replace a lot. I don't see them, like, slipping that far. I just know that, like, Miami and Clemson and them are a lot closer than they were last year. And, like, I know that they only beat Clemson by 3, but by the end of the year, they were so far ahead of where Clemson was and so far ahead of where Miami was, and both those are close games because they're rivalry games. That's probably not going to be the case this year. Like, they're probably still ahead of Florida in the rivalry rundown, but, like, ahead of Miami and Clemson, probably not as far. Now, look, Miami's got to beat them. Like, you know, Clemson has to prove that they can do it the way that they're doing it, you know, which, by the way, if you have not seen –
on a hope and a prayer. If
you've not seen my video on Dabo, Sweeney, and the transfer portal, please look it up here on the channel. It was really fun to do. We're going to do some more of those probably about every other week to start out and then rocking them out more regularly, but it was a fun video to do. So, yeah, I think, like, look, Miami's got Cam Ward. They got Damian Martinez. They got Sam Brown. I mean, like, they have – in addition to Jacoby George, who's out there on the outside, Xavier Restrepo, their offensive line and defensive line was already good. They keep picking up guys on both sides of the ball. Like Mario Cristobal is kind of copying the Mike Norvell transfer portal path right blueprint. Now. And they still have to get over it. Like, Norvell's a better coach than Cristobal right now, in my opinion. I mean, I think those things are cyclical. And, like, there's a metric. Like, right now he's ahead of him. Cristobal has to beat him, but I do, like, I'll buy Cam Ward with those weapons that he's never had before. I'll buy it at number 10.
Cam Ward can be the great equalizer. I think the thing that nobody talks about is Miami is that they don't play in front of any fans anymore. But anyway, I digress. Just to go back, I know you wanted to talk about Notre Dame, and we're going long in this segment, but, like, Alabama, number 7. Until proven otherwise, I guess you have to rank them highly. I think that Alabama, as currently constructed in the new coach theory, which kind of states that people regress to the mean. I just made that up, but I've seen it happen several times. Alabama just feels they're like an 8-4 team to me. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they're the number 7 team in the country, and maybe that's wish casting on my part. Oh, they're done. Thank God we slayed the dragon. They're gone. But to me, with the new coach theory, and yeah, I think he's a good coach. Obviously, he took Washington to what they were. It feels like it takes it even took Saban a season to get rolling. Now he was building from something much less than what Alabama is currently, but it took him a season or 2 to get rolling, right? I mean, he had 7 wins that first season. I just think it feels they'll be able to get around on talent, but I don't know. Wish casting, I think Alabama is not as high as number 7 in my mind. Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what happens. Notre Dame at number 5, very interesting to me. I think that is a product of Riley Leonard. They've got some really good, people in the skill positions. Chris Mitchell, Bo Collins added to the roster this year. By the way, Bo Collins, again, I'm going to throw a Clemson transfer out, replaced by no one. I mean, so, and again, you can trust your freshman all you want. Please go watch the video. I go into it length for about 8 minutes.
Clicks feed my family.
Yes, exactly. So, but no, it's but I do think it's interesting. Riley Leonard is a dude, like, and they have a tough schedule. Like they do have Florida State at home. They've got a lot of other teams, but yeah, they should. I say they have a tough schedule. They have some tough spots on it. But they should be a lot better. And I'm a big fan of Marcus Freeman. I think, again, people want people to be so good right away. Marcus Freeman's not even 40. Like, this dude
that makes me feel bad about myself.
Not like he's not to the spot where he's going to be his best version of himself, right? So I buy into Notre Dame big. I buy into Notre Dame every single year, and then I'm let down every single year. Yeah. Well, and look, I buy into them big in that, like, I believe they'll be 10-2.
Yeah,
I believe them. But now 10-2,
buying the 10-win stock. Yeah,
10-2 for Notre Dame puts you in the playoff automatically.
Yeah,
next year, right?
This year, this coming year.
12, wait, is it 12?
12 team playoff.
12
I should know this.
Yeah, it's 12 this year.
Oh yeah,
don't embarrass us.
That's why the FSU thing was such a travesty. Anyway,
also, just to wrap up this first part of the segment, which has gone on wonderfully, Ole Miss at number 6. This is Lane Kiffin's year to prove it.
There's no way Notre Dame should be ahead of Ole Miss. I don't.
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't
this
get
is
that.
Ari's estimation, and the difference between 6 and 5 to me is
This is not much, but
part of it-
Big Jackson Dart fan, are you?
I just think what they've been able to do in the portal, like especially on defense, man, like they've loaded up. And if you look last year, that's what really slowed them down. Like they would score, they would put up big numbers. Jackson Dart is really damn good.
Well, the only place that they downgraded
Was running back
because they lost Judkins. And I'm not knocking Logan Diggs and Henry Parrish Jr.
They're good, but they're not Quinshon.
They're
They
not
can get the job
Quinshon good.
done.
Like Quinshon's,
different.
yeah, he's old. He's like old school good. So, I think Penn State's ranked a little too high at 11. LSU at 14 makes sense to me. Tennessee at 15 makes sense to me.
Welcome to the James Franklin School of getting to 9.5 wins every year.
And the highest ranked Big 12 team is Kansas State at 16. And then Arizona at 19. And then Kansas at 23, Oklahoma State at 24, Utah at 25. Ari has no G5 teams in the top 25. And I think it's going to be really hard for G5 teams now with this is the first year of the the overstuffed conference craziness.
Yeah.
It's going to be really hard for a G5 team to kind of sneak in there.
Yeah, we're not going to see a Boise. I mean, I don't know. They'd have to play a wild schedule, and also, somewhere along the line, people writers take into account it's not RPI rankings in football, is it? What's the index? Yeah. Is it RPI? No.
I don't know. What are they? It might be.
They use some sort of index to measure how tough their schedules have been, and I butcher that every time. But strength of schedule. It would take some writers to do some digging on how good their other, like San Diego State's strength of schedule has been to rank them highly. But maybe like somebody Fresno State or something sneaks in there. I haven't, just sight unseen, I haven't looked at their schedule, but they always have recently seemed to be around there. Boise State really has fallen off, so they're not around that much. Just naming teams that have been in the top 25 recently. James Madison, you think we'll see them again?
Well, I mean, their coach is gone, so
Liberty?
No, I don't. Liberty might get up there. CJ Daniels went to LSU, but the quarterback is back.
I think Tulane probably.
Tulane, I mean, yeah, I think that I think that's a reasonable one.
Well, they also lost their coach too.
Yeah, but they replaced him with Troy, with John
Yeah.
Summerall, who's from Troy, who's really, really good. I don't think they're going to miss much of a beat. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bouncy bounce, little orange ball, a little hoopy hoop. All these names will not stick. We'll talk college basketball.
Peach basket, shoot 'em up.
And we'll talk college basketball and who is killing it right now in the portal. Some of the names might surprise you, who's done really, really well. Some of them won't, like the teams from the Big 12, who are absolutely feasting right now in the portal.
I'm scared.
And we'll continue. Oh, it's gonna be so awesome. It's gonna be so awesome.
Bloodbath.
I can't wait. It's gonna be stressful to watch a game that you don't care about. Honestly, watching, just say, if
Iowa
you're not
State,
a team,
Arizona.
Yeah, I mean
that'd be
that's
a hell of a game,
a hell of a game. But watching TCU and West Virginia, in a game, I have no dog in either of those hunts, and I'm gonna be like,
Stomach ulcer.
oh god, this is unbelievable. Basketball. That's coming up next. This is 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back alongside Royden Ogletree, who shaved his beard today and
A couple days ago.
shaved his beard a couple days ago and made his face look younger, which he's already young, so he can just suck it.
We're all getting older every day, man. Time creeps on.
I'm middle-aged now.
Lambs to the cosmic slaughter.
Yeah. I'm middle-aged, so I can't just, take this stuff lying down anymore. I have to
You have to fight back.
I have to be bitter and angry.
Every time an intern walks in here, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Yuck, man. How old are you? 21? Get out of my sight.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, we are almost to 40,000 subscribers. We might be there by the end of the day. So
does it count if I unsubscribe and then resubscribe?
no.
Oh.
No, that's just. But we're getting there. So that's really exciting. And I've made a promise on Twitter, which means it's
official.
It's official. If we get to 50,000 subscribers, not if, when we get to 50,000, because we will. When we get to 50,000 subscribers, I will do a keg stand right here in the studio.
Wow.
And once we get close, we'll figure that out. We'll probably get a sponsor to do that.
Yeah, we'll definitely get a sponsor for that one.
We'll probably get a sponsor to do that.
I mean, there's somebody literally right down here.
That's probably who it's going to be.
They don't have a lot of chugging beers, though.
Again, which makes it
IPA. Oof.
No, we'll get one of the lighter ones for sure. And then we can start taking over-unders on how long my keg stand will be.
Oh, okay.
Get the under.
Take the under.
I mean, what are we setting it at?
Well, here's the other thing.
Under. 10 seconds under.
Here's the deal. 2 people are going to have to hold my fat ass up. So that's also why we might have to hit the under. There's going to be, you remember in The Office when they were trying to lift that guy?
Yeah.
Like, get under the hawk? That's what it's going to be like. But yeah, I think, that'll be fun. So I will do, so tell 10,000 of your friends right now to go subscribe. And
I
I'll
have
do
so many Facebook friends. It's unbelievable.
And I'll do a keg stand right here in the studio. We'll make it very triumphant.
Oh, yeah.
We'll make it very triumphant. I'll get some coaching. We'll do some things where I practice up by just chugging a beer, like one beer.
You got to go down the street to where we don't have frat houses here in Waco. They because of reasons, but just go down and just to 3rd Street and be like, hey, fellow kids, how do you do?
I'm going to tell you right now, Royden, I'm not taking any advice on how to party from Baylor kids.
Oh,
I'm not doing it. I won't.
Best bet.
I went to the Harvard.
you might be out of your game, brother.
I went to the Harvard of party schools.
That's fair.
I'm not going to besmirch the good name of Florida State Alcohol University by going down to a place where they have exams on Saturdays and asking them how to drink beer. No offense, Jack, but I mean, please. I know it's been a long time, but
You go, Jack.
so
you can find what you want.
Again, I'm not going to go to TCU. I'm not going to SMU. If anything, I need to get on a plane and go to Lubbock.
Or go to Texas State.
Yeah, you can get in
Oh
the
my
car.
God! There we go,
man.
Yeah,
Set
maybe
it
I'll
up.
do a tour. Maybe go down to San Marcos. Maybe go to Lubbock. Honestly, I need to go to a place where, you've chosen to be there and you can't really go.
Yeah.
Lubbock is far enough away. Tallahassee's the same way. It's in a cool spot. It's really pretty, but it was 6 hours away from my hometown. It's 5 hours away from Atlanta. It's 5 hours away from New Orleans. So if you're going to go somewhere, it's a big plan.
Yeah.
Especially as a college kid and thinking oh my God, that's 10 hours of gas I'm going to buy to get there. But so I need a place
This Clinton guy has this up to 98 cents.
Oh, it was over $1. but yeah, I need to go to a place like Tech in Lubbock that is
You're stuck.
Again, you can't, if you're going to leave to go back home to Dallas or Austin or Houston or wherever you're from, like it is, I'm skipping class a day, either on the front end or the back end to get this drive in because it's long, or you're getting on a plane. So yeah, that's like, and I know right now there are people in the chat who support me wholeheartedly going to Lubbock to do this.
Oh, I bet. Kid Coulter, where you at?
to get my coaching, you know. But San Marcos is much closer.
And there's a river.
Yeah, exactly. So there's opportunity there. But yes, I will do that. I'll need coaching. But again, no offense, I'm not trying to talk noise about your alma mater or Jack's alma mater.
No, it sounds like you were, and I'm a little offended.
I mean, you can be a little offended all you want, but the school that I went to, like, wrote the book on this.
That's different.
You know, when we would
featured in many a Rolling Stone article.
We would be mad. I'll tell you, Garrett, we'd be mad when, like, the party school list would come out in Playboy magazine, which used to be a thing. I think it's still a thing, but it used to be a thing. But, like, you know, the party schools would come out.
You know, like your dad used to have.
Yeah. Yeah. So when the party school list would come out and we were ranked below, like, 3 or 4, and be like, oh, this is bullcrap. What does Arizona State have that we don't have?
Who else besides Arizona State?
UCLA, come on.
Yeah.
Or there was always like one random school in there, like South Alabama. Like, I've never even heard of that.
Like, what do you mean University of Slippery Rock?
Yeah.
No, that's not how this is going to work at all. So, but yeah, no, but we had a good time. We had a good time. All right, to get to our college basketball portal thingy-majigger that we have right now. Let's go through these teams. Some of them are fantastic party schools. Well,
I've been to West Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
West Virginia has
2 top 10.
6 transfers in to the program so far. And one of them is Tucker DeVries, who came with his father. The other one I really, really like, they just got Javon Small the other day from Oklahoma State. That is one heck of a portal hit right there.
Right. Blinken was fired, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That makes obviously I think it was after the Big 12 tournament. But West Virginia, not fun to watch last year. Maybe a little more fun to watch this year. That's anecdotally, so. That is my take. I think obviously losing your coach right before the season started with Huggy, like, I didn't think that they were going to be anything super special before the season started. Somewhere middle to down of the Big 12, but they were very down. And they gave Baylor some fights, and they put up a fight in those games just by the nature of the players that go to West Virginia.
Yeah.
But they weren't the same sort of team that was going to be middle and up in the Big 12. And this is a good starting place to get back into what I think those fans expect their basketball program to be. Obviously, they love football up there, but you know, it's Jerry West, for Christ's sake. You know, they expect pretty good performances out of their basketball program up there.
Yeah.
And I would hate to play there if I was a college athlete.
Yeah.
No, to play against them rather, not to go there is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's some, like, all right, let's get the obvious ones out of the way right away that people may know about already. Kansas slaughtering it right now. And if they don't get Riley Kugel, if he's not eligible to transfer in from Florida, which, I mean, it's not surprising that someone would have trouble transferring out of Florida. It's basically a preschool. I had to get my shot in. I had to get my shot in. Look, once you get through the alphabet and you can count to 50, you have a degree there. No, I kid because I hate.
I kid because I'm a massive hater.
No, but like Riley Kugel, like right now there's questions about if he'll be able to transfer, he'll be eligible. I don't know. From Florida to Kansas, which kind of surprises me because honestly, Florida is a pretty darn good school. So I'm just kind of curious as to why he could play there and not Kansas, or if this is a recent development, if this is why he feels like he has to transfer from Florida. Like that maybe a all tied in together. So they might not get Riley Kugel. It doesn't matter. They got
Are the Big 12's academic standards that much high? Because we've seen this a couple of times.
Look, no one's academic standards are that much higher than the others. Like, everybody likes to say that.
Yeah.
Like, there's the Stanfords of the world, and there's really good schools, but most schools right now
Are on
have
par,
pretty
right?
high academic standards.
Yes.
Like, it's harder to get into colleges than it was when I was going to college.
Right.
It's a lot harder for a lot of places.
They've artificially choked down.
I'll tell you a good example of it is USF and UCF they used to be kind of like that was your safety school because you could get in there for sure. That's not the case anymore at either of those schools. I mean, that's safety school no more. But yeah, they got Ryland Griffin, they got AJ Storr, they got Zeke Mayo, and like those three guys alone give them a bench now and actually enable some players like Marco Jackson to be in a bench role more than he was.
Plus, the whole big thing is Hunter Dickinson's coming back for an 18th year. So that's
KJ
fun.
Adams is back. DeJuan Harris is back. Johnny Furphy, according to Bill Self yesterday, likely to stay in the NBA draft. And I don't know if he's close to ready to play in the NBA.
He needs at least one more year, in my opinion.
I think he needs one more year. The problem is that this is not the deepest NBA draft that we've ever seen here. So
It's
a guy like
it's
Furphy
being called historically bad.
Yeah. So, and look, it might be one of those drafts that like 5 years from now, there's like
the 18 all pros or whatever.
There's
all
like
NBAs.
there's like 4 Steph Currys and 4 Jalen Brunsons and a Giannis in there. Like, oh well, these guys are all better than we thought.
Ryan Russillo, who I listen to a lot, he had said that everybody likes to equate that, this is the worst draft that's ever been, or since 2004, I think, 2005. And then what was the one with like that? I forget who the Lakers took number 1 overall. No, it wasn't Vujicic. Anyway, I digress. But it was everybody hates on the draft until about 3 weeks before the draft. Have you seen this guy's game?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, he can shoot from 3, he can dribble left-handed, and he can dunk. And it's just they start to artificially hyperinflate these guys.
Well, mostly because they have to
they have to make the
TV broadcast way better.
Right.
So,
obviously. But yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, none of these guys are all NBA. What happened? Well, it was a terrible draft.
Well, okay. So
Arkansas.
Well, we'll get to Arkansas in a second because that's Arkansas and Kentucky we need to do together. I want to get Baylor out of the way. Norshad Omer yesterday officially committed to the program, 6'7", 230. Jack thinks he's much bigger than that.
7-foot wingspan.
7-foot wingspan, double-double machine, and Jeremy Roach. Both these guys, veteran transfers to help a team that will have a lot of young guys on it, but they will be much more veteran than last year. You add that to Langston Love, who's going to be back, and Jaden Nunn, who's going to be back, and Josh Ojanwina, who's going to be back, and the freshmen they have coming in. This is a team that has a diverse way of youth and veterans all the way through the roster. Love what Coach Drew is doing this offseason. This has been a boon for Baylor all the way around.
Yeah.
Louisville and Kentucky get told no, you can't hire him, and he's been able to turn that around into roping in some really big-time prospects.
I think the thing is that you're going to have to also, he did not an overhaul, but really hired a lot of other coaches or had to hire other coaches because of the exodus that he had for people going to get bigger, better jobs. I still feel like the Brooks move is sort of a lateral move for him, but what do I know? And
I think sometimes it's just good to get to another place.
That's fair. You know, even though like 2 coaches in a row have gotten head coaching positions out of being the associate head coach. I digress. I think that I like the mix of older talent that's come in. I like the idea that Drew continues to get these older guards that can come in and just settle the ship no matter what. And obviously you had to do that, and Jeremy Roach is probably the best player that they could have gotten for that situation. I am interested to see how you mix in the largest or the best recruiting class that you have ever had into these guys that are transferring in that expecting to play really good minutes. And nothing against him, but these aren't transfers like Caleb Lohner or or some other transfers that they brought in that you can kind of bring in for sparing minutes, sparse minutes rather.
Yeah.
As an energy guy or whatever. These are transfers that I'm trying to go to the NBA.
Yeah.
I'm trying to win a national championship. I want to play. So it'll be interesting to see how he mixes that in. Baylor still needs, if not a backup center. I like Josh Ojonwuna. I think he's continued to develop nicely. He still makes some silly fouls.
I think they need a 3-and-D guy and a backup.
Yeah, I think that they would need one more guy that they can rotate in there with, even though I know they're going to want to go small and sometimes have that new transfer. Omier?
Yeah, Norshad Omier.
I think they're probably going to use him a lot more at 5 than you would actually expect because he's a rebounding machine.
The Nicaraguan Nightmare. That's what I'm going to call him.
That's unbelievable.
First, Fran Fraschilla said this. Was on the show yesterday. Fran said the first Division I Nicaraguan basketball player ever.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So good for Norchet and good for Baylor for getting him. So here's a couple to throw out. Alabama, Clifford Omayuri, Aiden Holloway, Chris Youngblood, and Houston Millette all into that program. Nate Oates continues to kill it. But Louisville, also with a new coach, revamping the roster all the way around. They've got several transfers in. They had to. Ali Khalifa, really interesting one for them. But yeah, they're going to be a very Chucky Hepburn in there from Wisconsin. So they've got some good players.
They bring in
Corin
8.
Johnson.
I think they brought in 8 recruit.
Yeah. They brought
8 transfers.
Their whole roster is going to be that. But you brought up Arkansas and Kentucky, and let's get to them before the end of the show. Kentucky right now, and look, they're already going to have some guys that might have hung around from the last year's roster that are pretty good. But their starting lineup, which will be Kobe Brea, Kerr Krissa, Brandon Garrison,
Lamont Butler Jr.
Yeah, Lamont Butler Jr., and probably Andrew Carr with a couple other good guys coming off the bench. They've got some veteran depth, which is something that Kentucky hasn't had. Like, they haven't had veterans. They've had some really, really good players. But Mark Pope, I think, will be the best guy to mix in the young, wave of talent in, the high school players that they can just go get, and then balancing it out with veterans. I don't think he'll probably take this many transfers in a year for the rest of his time at Kentucky, but there'll be a nice balance with Mark Pope and Kentucky and this team of veterans. Hopefully for Wildcat fans, they can come together really quickly and make a deeper run than they've made in the tournament in the last couple of years.
Get ready to learn three-pointers, buddy.
Yeah.
Coach, I'm 7 foot tall. I don't shoot 3-point. I don't care. 100 of them right now.
Yeah. And then that brings us to Arkansas, who's already brought in 2 players from Kentucky, Adu Terrio, who's really, really good, and Zavamir Ivisic. So
I'm seeing here they brought in Jordan Burks, DJ Wagner.
Well, they're all there for visits.
Oh,
they're
okay.
there for visits. Officially, James Adu, who people thought might be coming to Baylor, Jonas Adu, I'm sorry, might be coming to Baylor. It was not him. It wound up being Norshad Omer, who came in, and Janelle Davis, another really good player who came in from FAU. So Arkansas retooling and not done because there was no team at Arkansas, like John Calipari said. So Kentucky and Arkansas having to rebuild their roster because of each other, it's
just the Predator handshake meme.
Yeah.
Just like,
yeah.
All right, I guess we'll do this together.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's how this is. So, but yeah, no, I think that Arkansas, Kentucky, it'd be really interesting. It's weird to me that we haven't heard a lot of noise from the ACC in the transfer portal just yet, but I feel like they're about to close fast. Louisville, I know, is in the ACC,
has been suspiciously quiet, but again, they're bringing in.
Well, they only lost one dude.
Yeah, and they're bringing in one of the highest-rated recruiting classes ever, even for Duke, right? And so they're bringing in, I think, 5 guys in. I might have that wrong, but I know it's. I think it's a lot larger than Baylor's class. I think it's 5 or 6 guys they're bringing in just as recruits. How he's going to find time to play all those guys, I have no idea. But suspiciously quiet, especially when you have the NC States of the world and who just came off a deep tournament run and have never had higher higher cachet, I think, than they've had in a long time. UNC always seems to be in the mix.
Yeah, they've only brought in
older people.
Brought in one guy so far. NC State has brought in four new guys.
Okay.
And all really good players, but I mean, again, but maybe not as high ranked as the others. But it didn't matter for NC State last year. They just did well as a team. So
just give me a big guy. How many?
Yeah.
Just one. I just need one big guy.
One dude who shakes the earth, and DJ Burns. Yeah. All right, well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for today. Grayson, God dang it. Oh. All right, we're both going to go.
It's on the screen.
I know. I'm looking at Royden
Ogletree, right there.
Sorry. By the way, did you see any of the Tom Brady roast?
I watch clips on Twitter like everybody else.
Okay.
I used to love a roast back in the day. Somebody made a point. They just got too mean, and as I've gotten older, I've just kind of like.
I loved it. I will tell you this. I finally finished it because 3 hours is too long.
Also, I'm not quite on board, and this is the old person. Netflix live programming.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this: Rob Gronkowski was terrible. Terrible.
All the comedians did a really good job from what I saw.
And a lot of the players did a really good. Julian Edelman killed it. Yeah. Belichick did really well. Brady did well. Ben Affleck didn't do as well as I thought he might when he came out. Peyton Manning was good. Gronkowski, it was so bad. Just so bad. And I know that the writers who had to write for him were just like, oh,
how do we – he doesn't understand joke structure.
Yeah, no. And he'd be like, I just made that up right now. And you're like, and then like you don't do like the thing is
explain the joke.
No, he would like tell a joke that wasn't on the prompter.
Oh.
And then like, I just made that up right now. Well, the thing is, if you did, fine. If you didn't, and the writers made it up, it just I don't know. It was fine. I mean, like he got laughs, but yeah. So
the big winner is Belichick for taking it on the chin and just getting up there and in the face of what could have been an embarrassing. The Tim Part Apple documentary joke that he made.
Yeah,
and what's been a weird offseason of I'm going to coach. Actually, Atlanta doesn't want me to coach their team for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go do TV.
Yeah.
And then all the stuff that Robert Kraft has been saying. Well, actually,
it was a
collaborative effort. It wasn't anything to do with just Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. I was there too. Yeah. And then Kevin Hart gets them to take a shot together.
Yeah.
I've seen all the clips. For somebody that hadn't watched this thing, I watched all of it. But he took it on the chin, which for somebody who is the greatest coach of all time in a sport that everybody loves and is now 5 years old. Yeah. He should have gotten up there and given him the middle finger, and everybody would have been like, I get it.
Look, here's the thing. It also shows that, like, some of our perceptions about things aren't right. Aren't completely right. Like, look, they made jokes about Alex Guerrero and the tension, and, like, they did. Like, there was no joke that was the case, but, like, now that they're all not working together anymore, none of that matters. Like, it just matters what they were able to accomplish. How it ended so much isn't important because everything ends,
Right.
And it was good because I can tell you it would make no sense for Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick to be at odds for years and years and years because we saw the stupidest thing ever play out in Dallas where Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson were at odds for all this time, and then they finally put him in the Ring of Honor. After players he drafted, like it was just like it was so frustrating that like that pettiness existed.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that Robert Kraft learned from that.
I'm sure that Belichick is still like, you son of a. Like
I'm sure there's some of that.
I don't think it's super. I think the animosity is still there.
You could kind of tell when they were taking the shot, like it was a little bit like, all right,
it's not all copacetic.
No, but it's like again. There's no need to dwell on it,
Right.
And They got to nip it in the bud a lot faster. Had they done the roast of Troy Aikman 30 years ago, maybe we would have had this.
Well, didn't they do the roast of Emmitt Smith?
Yeah, they roasted Emmitt Smith. It was
Right,
not
that was
like
the one that
this.
Jamie
Foxx
roasted that poor comedian that he didn't have a career anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you haven't seen that, you go look up Jamie Foxx, I'm Your Conscience, and the
Yeah.
guy's bombing so hard.
Yeah.
And Jamie
Actually,
Foxx
get
gets,
up.
I'm your
I'm your conscience. Why did you tell that joke? Anyway, but I'd be interested to see if there's ever like welcome back with open arms. But the weird thing of the Patriots sort of trying, or at least the Crafts sort of trying to rewrite history of that franchise was anything before Belichick got there is miraculous. Because it's unbelievable. Because I mean, you would I've heard stories. You would probably know Patriots were dog water.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they lost to the 85 Bears in the Super Bowl. You know, they were, before Belichick got there was nothing. Just nothing. Like, really, 1 or 2 good years in their history, so. Anyway, all right, well, that's going to do it for us today. Royden, good to see you 5 years ago. Makes me nostalgic for the Royden of old. The Royden of yesteryear.
Oh, I was drunk.
The wide-eyed kid who came in and was like, I'd like to be an intern. I'm like, all right.
Okay.
All right, your funeral, buddy. So we're now tied at the hip forever.
Learn how to file papers, buddy.
Please don't pay any attention to the rudeness of our boss.
Yes. Avoid at all costs.
Just
Never met him.
Don't look him in the eyes. Don't ask him a question because he doesn't know the answer. But he'll pretend like he does. Anyway, that's going to do it for us this afternoon. In an hour, we're going to talk about the Group of 5 Top 25 poll, which is going to be really interesting. We'll have that. We have a lot of guests today. We have John Bryce from Football Scoop on that. G.J. Kenny, Texas State football coach, might help me in my journey through Party Town down there. Craig Smos off the radar. Brandon Marcello of 24/7 Sports, and John McClain in my top 5. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports. Peace!
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light.